He saw her begging outside the mall and couldn't believe she was the girl who abandoned him. The scent of roasted chestnuts wafted from a nearby vendor, mixing oddly with the faint perfume of memories. Roman stood frozen, halfway through dialing a business call, his thumb hovering midair over the screen. The murmurs of the bustling crowd blurred around him, yet one image stood impossibly clear. The girl kneeling beside the mall fountain with a tattered shawl clutched around her shoulders. She wasn't just a stranger in need. She was her. Amara. Once the heartbeat of his youth, the girl who vanished into silence one rainy October night 6 years ago. No explanation, no goodbye. Just emptiness. And now she sat in the dust, hair unwashed and pulled back with a broken comb, eyes hollow but unmistakable. His breath caught in his throat as if the wind had been knocked out of him. She hadn't seen him yet. She was too busy trying to collect the scattered coins that had fallen from a passerby's reluctant hand. Her fingers trembled as they scraped at the concrete, like they feared even the pennies might change their mind and roll away. His first instinct was disbelief. His second was rage. And then pity, no, something more complicated. A fusion of grief, betrayal, and the unmistakable ache of unfinished love. He stepped forward. The city noise muffled behind the pulsing beat of his heart. "Amara," he said, his voice barely audible. She looked up. At first, nothing registered in her expression. Then came a flicker, recognition, panic, shame. She turned away sharply, as though the sight of him burned her. "No," she whispered. "Not now. Not like this." But Roman didn't move. His tailored coat, his gleaming shoes, his executive aura, they didn't matter in this moment. All that mattered was the question that had haunted him for years finally standing in front of him, raw and bruised by life. "What happened to you?" he asked, his voice steadier now. Amara stood shakily, brushing the crumbs of her pride from her knees. Her lips parted, then closed again. There was no rehearsed story in her eyes, only exhaustion. "You shouldn't have seen me like this." "I shouldn't have not seen you for 6 years, he replied. She flinched. The mall crowd continued flowing around them, unaware of the storm that had just been rekindled in the eye of the plaza. "I didn't want to leave you," she said finally. "I had no choice." "There's always a choice," Roman shot back, the edge in his tone betraying the softness of his gaze. Her jaw tightened. "Not when your father threatens to ruin the only man you've ever loved. Not when he holds hospital bills and debt over your head like a sword. I left because it was the only way I thought I could protect you." He blinked. "My father." She nodded slowly. "He came to our flat the night I disappeared. Told me he'd cut you off from everything if I stayed. Said you were on the brink of something great, that you didn't need a girl like me holding you back. He was right, wasn't he? Look at you." His stomach twisted. The puzzle pieces shifted painfully. His father, cold, ruthless, obsessed with legacy. It was the kind of thing he would do. But Roman had always believed Amara chose to leave him. He had hated her for it. Now, she stood there with nothing but a few coins in her palm and years of suffering in her eyes. And still, she carried herself with the dignity of someone who'd loved fiercely and paid the price in silence. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, stepping closer. "I tried," she whispered. "I wrote you a letter. Slipped it into the coat you always wore. I guess you never found it." His eyes widened. That coat, he had donated it weeks after she left. It never crossed his mind to check the pockets. "God, I waited for you, Roman," she said, "until I couldn't afford to wait anymore." He swallowed hard. "And now," she gave a broken laugh, "now I beg for strangers' kindness. I sleep in shelters, and I pray my body doesn't betray me with another illness I can't afford. Is that what you wanted to hear?" "No," he murmured. "That's never what I wanted." For a moment, silence held them both. Then Roman reached into his wallet, pulled out a business card and a bundle of notes, and handed them to her. She stared at them like they were made of fire. "This isn't pity," he said. "It's a start. There's a hotel down the street. Go there, clean up, rest. Use this card. It's got my number. When you're ready to talk, truly talk, I'll be waiting." Her lip trembled. "Roman, don't say no. Not this time." She nodded, tears tracking silently down her cheeks. As Roman turned and walked away, his chest felt both heavier and lighter. The past wasn't gone. It had just been buried under lies and silence. Now maybe it had a chance to breathe. That night, Amara stood at the edge of the hotel balcony, dressed in a borrowed robe, her hair clean and skin warm for the first time in months. She dialed the number on the card with trembling fingers. The phone rang once, twice, and then, Roman here. She inhaled. It's me. I'm ready to talk. There was a pause, heavy and electric, as though the moment was inhaling with her. Roman's voice dropped softer. Where are you? Still at the hotel, she murmured, clutching the phone like it was the last thread holding her together. On the balcony. I don't know why I called. I couldn't close my eyes without hearing your voice again. I'll be there in 10 minutes, he said without hesitation. Don't go anywhere. Before she could respond, the line clicked dead. She stared at the phone, heart pounding louder than it had in years. Her reflection in the sliding glass door was unrecognizable, cleaned up, but still haunted. Would he look at her the same way in person? Would the pain in his eyes soften or harden once he saw the rest of her? When the knock came, it was quiet, respectful. She opened the door slowly. Roman stood there, still in the same coat, a little disheveled now. But the sharpness in his eyes was gone. In its place was a raw vulnerability she had never seen in him, not even in their most intimate moments. For a long beat, they simply stood, absorbing each other again, like two ghosts who had found their unfinished business. He stepped inside. You're safe, he said. You're okay. That's all I wanted to know. Amara wrapped the robe tighter around herself. I'm not really okay, but I'm trying. He moved closer, hesitant. Can I sit? She nodded, and they both sank into the plush sofa, a ridiculous luxury compared to where she had slept the night before. I never stopped looking for answers, Roman said. I thought you ran. I thought I wasn't enough. Her eyes watered. You were everything. That's why I had to disappear. I would have fought for you, he said bitterly. I would have faced him, taken whatever storm he brought. He told me you had a deal pending with an international firm, she said, voice thin. Said you were weeks away from your first $1 million venture. That one scandal, one rumor about the girl from the slums you were dating could wreck it. He said you'd never forgive me if I ruined your life. He shook his head slowly. He never knew me at all. And he never knew us. I didn't know who I was without you, she whispered. But I had to learn. I had to survive. I cleaned houses, waited tables under a fake name, lived in halfway homes, and tried to make peace with the ghost of you. But the ghost wouldn't leave. Roman leaned forward, elbows on knees, staring at the carpet. I made it. I became everything he wanted me to be. Wealthy, respected, cold, and I hated all of it. She looked at him sharply. I hated every deal I signed, he continued. Every smile I faked. Every award I won, because you weren't there. Nothing felt real after you. A tear slid down her cheek. I dated other women, he confessed, but I couldn't feel anything for them. They didn't have your fire, or your quiet strength, or that maddening way you used to argue about the silliest things just to test if I'd fold. I never wanted to win, she said. I know. You just wanted me to stay steady. You always saw the part of me I kept hidden. Silence stretched between them again. Then, Roman stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. I don't care about his empire anymore, he said, or the image I built around it. I care about truth. And somehow you, after everything, are still my truth. Amara joined him at the glass. I don't know if I can be the woman you remember. I don't want her, he said. I want you. Right now. Here. As you are. She didn't respond, but the way she leaned slightly closer told him what words couldn't. There was still love, buried under years of dirt and distance. Come with me tomorrow, he said suddenly. There's a gala. Everyone will be there. Investors, executives, even my father. Her head snapped toward him. Why would you want me there? Because I want him to see. I want everyone to see who you are. What you survived. That you're not broken, you're brilliant. And you're mine if you'll have me. She looked away. I don't have anything to wear. Roman smiled. Then let me fix that. Before she could argue, he was dialing a number. Within 15 minutes, a stylist and 2 assistants were at the door with racks of gowns, boxes of shoes, and a makeup artist in tow. Amara stared in disbelief as fabrics she used to only see behind glass cases were draped over her skin. Roman watched from the corner of the room, quiet and reverent, like she was something sacred being restored. She chose a midnight blue gown with a high slit and a subtle shimmer. As the artist brushed a soft blush across her cheeks and defined her eyes, Amara caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and flinched. She didn't see the beggar outside the mall anymore. She saw the girl she used to be. And maybe someone even stronger. Why are you doing this? She asked Roman once the team had left. Because you deserve to be seen, he replied. And because for once in my life, I want to stop hiding the parts of me that matter most. The next night, The ballroom glittered like a field of stars. Roman arrived with Amara on his arm, heads turning as they entered. He stood taller than ever, but not because of pride. It was because she stood beside him, and everything about her presence demanded acknowledgement. People whispered, some with admiration, some with confusion. And then his father approached, gray-haired, sharp-eyed, and still radiating power like a furnace. He froze when he saw her. Roman didn't flinch. "Father," he said, "you remember Amara." The older man's jaw tightened. "I thought she was gone." "She was," Roman replied. "Because of you." Gasps rippled around them, but Roman didn't care. "She's not a secret anymore. She never should have been. You made me believe she abandoned me." That was a lie. One of many. His father looked at Amara, for the first time with a flicker of shame. "I did what I thought was best." "No," Roman said. "You did what served you. And I won't inherit your empire if it comes at the cost of losing the only real thing I've ever had." Then he turned to Amara, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You don't have to say anything tonight. You don't owe them a story. But you owe yourself the right to be seen." Amara looked around. The lights, the people, the cameras. For a moment, fear nearly swallowed her. But then she thought of all the nights she'd slept under bridges, all the days she'd gone hungry and still held on to her pride. She nodded. Roman took her hand, and together, they stepped deeper into the ballroom. Not as a spectacle, not as a scandal, but as survivors. As a man and a woman who had lost everything and somehow found their way back through the storm. As the night stretched on, the music softened, fading into a hum that seemed to swirl around Amara and Roman like a veil of quiet triumph. The world inside that grand ballroom had once belonged to people who spoke in codes of power, who judged others by the shimmer of their attire or the weight of their surname. But tonight, that world was different. Tonight, it belonged to them, two souls who had walked through fire and still dared to glow. Amara felt the weight of stairs brush against her skin, but it didn't sting the way she feared. There was awe in the eyes that lingered on her, curiosity mixed with something like respect. She wasn't the girl who begged for coins anymore. She was a storm dressed in silk, with thunder in her voice and calm in her poise. Roman remained close, not as her savior, but as her equal. There was no pretense in the way he held her hand, only a fierce, unspoken vow to never let it go again. He didn't need to parade her like a prize, because he knew what it had cost her to simply stand in that room. And the pride in his gaze was deeper than love. It was reverence. Later in the evening, a hush settled across the crowd as Roman was called to the stage. The MC introduced him as the keynote speaker, celebrating another milestone in his company's growth. But no one expected what came next. Roman took the microphone, adjusted it slightly, then looked out across the glittering sea of faces. His eyes found Amara's, and he drew strength from them. "Tonight," he began, voice smooth but firm, "I was meant to speak about business, about innovation, markets, and expansion. But something more important brought me here tonight. A truth that deserves more than silence. So if you'll allow me a detour, I want to share something personal." The room fell into a deeper stillness, the kind that precedes a revelation. "Years ago," Roman continued, "I fell in love with a woman who had nothing but dreams and a fierce heart. She saw in me what no boardroom ever could. She loved me when I had nothing, and she left when she believed it would save me. I thought she abandoned me. But the truth is, I was the one who didn't fight hard enough to see beyond the lies told to me." A soft gasp moved through the room like a wave. "She's here tonight. And though she was once forced into shadows, tonight she shines brighter than anyone in this room. She is the very definition of grace, resilience, and strength. And I am proud to say that the woman beside me tonight is not my past. She is my future." The applause came slow, hesitant, then grew into something thunderous. Amara's hands trembled in her lap, tears silently slipping down her cheeks, not out of pain but release. The kind of tears that fall when a truth finally surfaces after drowning for too long. Roman descended the stage and returned to her side. The moment he reached her, the crowd instinctively parted, as if making room for something sacred. Without a word, he knelt in front of her, not with a ring, not with spectacle, but with sincerity etched in every line of his face. "I lost you once because I was too blind to see what mattered. I won't lose you again. You don't have to answer anything now. Just know I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Amara didn't speak. Instead, she reached out, her hand finding his, and pulled him gently to his feet. Their foreheads touched, and in that quiet contact, everything was said. The years of pain, the silence, the survival, all melted away into a simple, radiant truth. They had found each other again, and this time they would not let go. From that night forward, whispers about Amara shifted. No longer the mysterious woman who reappeared beside a mogul, she became a symbol of grit, of endurance, of love untainted by privilege. News outlets begged for her story, magazines wanted her image, but Amara declined them all. She chose instead to create something new. With Roman's support, she opened a foundation for women who had slipped through the cracks like she once had, offering them shelter, education, and above all, dignity. She walked into shelters not as a guest speaker, but as someone who had slept in the same bunk, felt the same hunger, and had once begged outside malls where no one saw her. And yet, one man did. Roman never stopped building, but he built differently now. Every deal was rooted in ethics. Every new project had a human face. And the empire he once sought to inherit, he redefined it. Not in the shadow of his father, but in the light of the woman who taught him how to truly see. Their love wasn't polished or easy. It was born from ashes, reborn through pain. But it was real. And it was theirs. There were quiet mornings filled with tea and laughter. Late nights tangled in blankets and memories. Arguments that led to growth, not distance. And an unspoken rule that nothing, nothing, would go unsaid again. And every time Roman saw Amara walk into a room, head held high, fire in her gaze, he was reminded of that day outside the mall. That moment when fate had offered him a second chance disguised in tattered clothes and tear-stained cheeks. He had almost walked past her, almost missed the miracle wrapped in misfortune. But he didn't. And in that choice, a story of loss turned into a legacy of love.